Good afternoon, Americans. This is your favorite alien speaking to you on Thursday or Wednesday, April 10th. Uh, Me and Bubba here in Marietta, Georgia, USA. Nice sunny day out there. And Bubba's just viewing to see if he finds his friend the blue jay out there. Uh, well, it seems to me that there's a lot of chaos going out there, isn't there? I wanted to do a quick video here trying to tutorial you Americans on your own system and let you know about the executive branch, the way it was meant to be before parties, that is. When George Washington assumed the presidency in April 30 of 1789, he needed 4 people to help him, as he calls them, not quite advisors, but to handle things on their public realm, as he put it. And there was only 4 that became what's known today as his cabinet. And the original 4 were the Attorney General, Secretary of State, Secretary of War, which today is the Secretary of Defense, and the Secretary of the Treasury. And you know that Hamilton became Secretary of the Treasury. And to Miss Ingram, I told her that your country is a Jeffersonian, Hamiltonian country, so she's got to figure that out. But back to the story. Those 4 were in charge of those 4 departments. And Mr. Washington put people in there that he thought would do and set a path for the United States acting like for Secretary of State to have a foreign policy that will be reviewed by Congress. Remember, Congress has the right to review foreign policy. And the Senate has the right to approve or reject any treaties done by the executive branch, or any deals done by the executive branch. But unfortunately, that never happened because you got parties involved in there. And like today's Republican and Democrat, no matter who's in there, look at Obama. When he was in there, you had all yes persons in there for him. Unfortunately for Trump, he didn't get any yes persons because there is no yes persons for him. Not the way he thinks. He's way outside the original scope of the U.S. Constitution. And until he realizes that, let alone the executive branch, he is not El Fuhrer. He is just a Joe Blow that assumed the caretaker position of president for 4 years. And boy, can you make a mess in 4 years, can't you? But anyway, unfortunately for George Washington, and he figured that out as soon as he left his second term because he was having problems with Jefferson and Hamilton during his second term. And they were creating the Republicans and the Federalist parties, which were the first 2 parties. And the Republicans, they were not part of the Democrats, and they're not part of the Republicans today. They were a separate party. So if you're trying to say that Democrats go back to Jefferson, you got something wrong there, bad people. But anyway, like I said, look at President Washington's farewell address and compare it to President Eisenhower's farewell address almost 200 years later. And you'll realize that those guys must have been thinking alike. Because today, look what we have. We don't have an executive branch that works. We don't have a legislative branch that works. And we got a Supreme Court they're trying to pack it to go either way. But I'm glad that you have a few judges in there, i.e. Roberts, sometimes Thomas, maybe Kavanaugh, that are looking the way that you're supposed to be looking at each issue when it comes to the Supreme Court, and not ruling it as conservative or liberal, right-wing, left-wing, Republican, or Democrat. You rule it on its own merits. If it's a conservative issue, then you got to rule conservative. If it's a liberal issue, you got to rule liberal. But that's the way it is in this country. That's the way George Washington thought it was going to be. That's the way most of the signers of the Constitution envisioned it to be. But you Americans, you have created helter-skelter out of that system. So this is your favorite lady and say, put your light bulbs on and try to fix it, will you?